What we're doing today is looking at some of the properties of water. Now, this is something you could definitely do at home. And of course, it requires some water and some other little ins and outs here, but these are properties that you could illustrate at home. And if you're a little creative, you could come up with some really interesting ways to illustrate some properties of water. So what we'll do is we'll just go through some of these properties of water. And let's start with what I have is a penny and a dropper. And I'm just going to fill my dropper with some water. And I want to see how many drops of water I can get to stay on the surface of that penny before I make a mess. So what property of water would that illustrate? Here's another thing I can do. I have a piece of wax paper and I'm just going to put a drop of water on my wax paper. Now I have just this glass stirring rod. You can use some other kind of utensil, but what I'm going to do is take this drop of water and move it, race it to the other side of the wax paper. And the key is to keep it all together. Here's another little fun activity. I'm trying to get this paper clip to just rest on the surface of the water. Now, if I try to do that, it just falls right in. So what I'm doing is I took another paper clip and bent it to kind of make a little tool to give me the chance to see if I could rest that paper clip on the surface of the water. So each of these activities is illustrating some property of water, or even a combination of properties of water. Your job is to figure out what properties of water are we emphasizing here. So I've got my dropper again. I'm going to take a drop of water, just put it on the table. I've got a microscope slide. I'm going to put that onto the drop of water, and then I just have a microscope slide here. Now, if I were to just try to lift these two slides. So if I just lift this one straight up, the dry one, that's no real problem. But to try and lift this one that had the drop of water under it, all right, that's kind of a problem. It's not that easy. The question is, why? What I have here is just a beaker of water. And I've put 150 milliliters into it, and I have a just regular paper towel that I folded up. I'm going to stand that paper towel up in the water, and the water is going to rise up the paper towel, and it's going up the paper towel higher than where I filled it, even against the force of gravity. So it's going against gravity, and I want to measure here in a minute just how high that water was able to climb. While I'm waiting, I just have 4 cups of water here. And we're gonna put some different things in these cups of water and see how well they dissolve. So for example, I have this big thing of sugar here. And I'm just gonna put a little bit into it. In this case, 1/4 teaspoon of sugar goes into the first one. And then I'm just going to stir it around, and we'll see how well that sugar dissolves in this just kind of room temperature, maybe a little bit cold water. The next thing I have is cornstarch. So the question again is just how well does it dissolve in the water as I stir it. Cornstarch. I also have some salt, which pours a little funny there, so put some salt in there, stir that one up. And last but not least, I have some vegetable oil. And we'll put the vegetable oil in and stir it up. Now the question is, which of these looks most like water? Which of these can you tell there's nothing in it? All right, so let's take a closer look. Can you see if there's nothing in it? So this is the sugar. It's not bad. The cornstarch, the salt, and this is the oil. So each of these activities illustrates some property of water. The question is again, which? So now let's take a look at our paper towel. If I measure that, I'm up to about 13 centimeters. So from the bottom of the beaker to here, the water has climbed up about 13 centimeters. The question is why? Can you explain any of those things based on some of the properties of water?